Hello, this is Palagi. Thank you for tuning into my channel, and today, as per viewer request, I'm going to talk a little bit about convex edges and how to sharpen them. Today we're going to be working with the Falkneven. This is the S1 here. Now, first of all, before we get into sharpening and how to sharpen, we kind of have to understand the nature of a convex edge to really get a full grasp of that. Now, essentially what you're doing with a convex grind is you are taking the shoulders off of a V grind, basically is what the deal is. Now you've got full convex grinds and then you have convex edges. Okay, now in theory a full convex grind will constantly be bowing all the way to the edge. Okay, where a convex edge, you're just simply kind of rounding it off, like I was saying, taking the shoulders off. I did that successfully with a number of my blades, to include the Artec 2, the Becker BK2. Okay, you know, and you can get them very, very, very sharp. Now, there's a lot of contention out there. You know, people saying that convex edges are, you know, are much tougher because there's more meat behind the cutting edge. Now, there's two schools of thought on that. I'm not going to get into that too deep, but anyway, there are some advantages for choosing a convex grind, not the least of which I find it actually very easy to sharpen. Now, contrary to what you might hear out there, I feel it is definitely one of the more forgiving grinds, and the reason I say that is because there's no precise bevel that you have to match. It's essentially bowing, where with, you know, a V grind, you've got you know, you've got bevels that you have to match precisely. Otherwise, you're not you know, you're not sharpening your tools there. So anyway, without further ado, let's explain how to do this. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do this. Now, I'm going to assume not everyone has machinery, so but this is, you know, one way to do it. Now, a work sharp, like I was saying, to convex, first of all, before we get into that, in case you're not familiar how the grinds work, okay, a V grind is, obviously, as the name implies, is a V, okay? You have like the hollow grinds that kind of concave inward, and then you have convex that kind of bows outward a little bit, okay? Now, in order to get to that cutting edge and to effectively cut, or to remove media off of that, you're going to have to match the bow, okay? Mm-hmm. So you need something that is going to flex on you a little bit, okay? Something like, you know, like this would work really well, and this is what produces a convex edge, okay? If you don't have something like that, you're going to use something that has a little bit of give on it, okay? This is just a standard mouse pad, and I strapped some sandpaper on the top of it, okay? As far as the grits are concerned, before I get into that, I want to say convex edges are maintained primarily with a strop, okay? You know, a leather belt or a strop or whatever loaded with compound, you know, when it starts to, you know, I don't know, that edge starts to lose its sharpness, you just kind of hit it a few times on the strop, and that will last you a long time. When it does come time to sharpen it, though, the way I do it, I don't know if this is the right way, I'm just saying it works for me, is I get Automotive Sandpaper, okay? There's obviously all different kinds of grits. 400 is about as low as I'm going to go. You know, 800, 1500, you know, finish with 2000, and then I usually hit it, you know, throw it back on the strop, okay? Now, this isn't a super dull knife today, so I'm going to kind of show you how I do it, and, you know, how I know I'm actually sharpening it. Now, as I was saying before, you're going to have to use something with a little bit of give to it, okay? Now, you might not think a mouse pad has much give, okay? We're actually going to be working with the edge of it, and the edge actually does have a little more give. Now, you want to be careful the way you hold your knife, though. You don't want to put too much pressure on it, because what can happen is it can wrap around that edge and actually come up and dull your blade, and that's not what you want, obviously, okay? It's actually very simple as long as you just kind of get the hang of it. So what I do to make sure that I am getting to my cutting edge there is I can make a mark right on the edge itself there, okay? And that'll kind of let us know that we are hitting the edge, okay? So right now I'm basically matching what I've done it in the past, okay? So I'm gonna lift it up just a little bit. I'm just gonna pull straight back. I don't have a lot of pressure on this, honestly, okay? And that tells me I'm hitting the right angle there. The marker's gone, okay? So that's all I do. I mean, really, the pressure, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this at all. I'm using, I don't know, hard to describe, okay? A little bit of pressure, not too much at all. You know, a little more than the weight of the knife, honestly. It really doesn't take much, okay? Now, another thing I see done a lot is, you know, when people come to the end of their knives, they want to lift up on the handle there, okay? That's not necessary, and you'll start getting kind of an inconsistent grind angle there, okay? Now, another nice thing about convex edges is as you sharpen them, you are essentially reprofiling them at the same time, okay? Now, with the V grind, obviously the more you sharpen them, what's going to happen is there's going to be more material behind that cutting edge, and sooner or later that edge is going to become obtuse, and then you have to reprofile it to get that get it back to where it was. One nice thing about the convex is that's not really the case. It's kind of an all-in-one deal, okay? So now if it's super dull, obviously you're going to want to start with something pretty low as far as your abrasive media, okay? Like I say, 400 is about as low as I'm going to go. Once you get you know, a good sufficient edge, check it on paper. Obviously you want to make sure, you know, any burr and all that's removed, just like you would in sharpening, and then you just advance up the grits till you get to, you know, the highest grit you want, and then you finish on a strop. It's actually very simple, okay, but very easy. It's not a whole lot to it there. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now, you notice I'm using backward strokes too, okay? Anytime I use sandpaper or something like that, I'm always going to do backward strokes. It's not quite the same as stones, although I like backward strokes all the time no matter what. But let's go ahead and check the edge here. Okay, not exactly where I want it. Okay, it's alright up there. Okay, so I'm going to keep going on this. Okay, let's go ahead and check it again here, see where we're at. Okay, grabbing a little bit. It is doing better. I'm going to keep going though. Okay. Let's go ahead and see where we're at here again. And my papers. Okay. So that's pretty good there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off on this strop. So let me get this camera set up here. Okay, so this isn't my normal setup with this strop. This isn't normally where it is, but I had to do this just to show you. Now, this is just a standard belt here. Actually, I'm making a strop too, but this has actually served me pretty well. This is just a leather belt. You can't really tell, but it is loaded with a green compound, okay? And so I'm just gonna do that. This one's actually pretty beat up, but it still works, okay? So it's like you're stropping it all the time, no matter what, whether you're using sandpaper or a belt. That's really what you do. Now, since I got the work sharp, I have actually loaded worn out purple belt and with compound, and I use that as my strop. I still use this actually with like my you know, my the knives I carry on my person, like folding knives, stuff like that. Okay. Now I am using a little more pressure on this one. Okay. Now obviously leather, it naturally has a little bit of give to it as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and check that edge. Let's see where we're at here. Okay. There we go. Back to hair shaven sharp, just like that. So really, I mean, that's all there is to it. There's not. There's really no magic to it. It's very, very simple to do. I hope this was somewhat informative for you. I hope I didn't leave anything out too. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave your mark in the comment section. Anyway, until next time, this is Chase Palagi, signing off.